keynote lecturer, Dr. Andrew Hunt. Dr. Hunt is a rural family and emergency medicine physician practicing in Newfoundland and Labrador. Has some administrative responsibilities in addition to his clinical work with Memorial University, and is going to share his experience and his journey along the way. So Andrew, let me just stop sharing my screen so that we can bring you on screen, and there you are. Welcome, and thank you for being here with us today. And Dr. Hunt is now going to share his screen, and over to you for our keynote lecture.
Super. All right. Thanks very much, Lisa. So just bear with me, folks, as I attempt to share my screen. I'm not all that tech savvy either. Give me a second here. Let's see what we can do. All right. That should be getting there.
Yeah, we tested it early, so we know you're going to be able to see it. I see it, Andrew. That's great.
You got it. All right.
Perfect.
All right. Excellent. Well, thanks again, Lisa, for the kind introduction. And what a jam-packed day it sounds like you have. I'm quite excited to talk to you about, I guess, my career, my life, some of the steps along the way, and really, what it is that you guys can do at your stage as well and moving into the future about kind of tailoring your path towards a career in health sciences. And I've looked at the agenda, and it's absolutely amazing. You're getting an opportunity today that, I really wish I had 20 something years ago to really have an understanding or to get a better feel of what careers in the health sciences would be all about. I struggled with making that decision through high school and then in the university, not really sure what it was I wanted to do at an early stage. And I was well into my university degree before I finally decided that I was going to apply to medical school. But sessions like this really help you hone in on what it is you're passionate about. So take full advantage today of everything that's offered to you. Some of the key experts that you'll get a chance to interact with today will really take you through, life and career paths in many different components of the health sciences. So it's very, very beneficial. And I'm so glad there's so many of you interested in this and that you're able to join us today. So my talk today is really, it's about finding fulfillment. I admitted to Lisa and Janice that I struggled to come up with a good title for this because, I didn't want to make it all about me. I really wanted to make it about some key points and advice that you could take away and really incorporate into your direction and your path as you're constructing that journey towards your future. So as Lisa said, I'm Andrew Hunt. I'm a family doctor. I've worked in a small town of Twillingate, about 2,500 people. So it's really small, relatively. Anyway, I've been here for almost 15 years. I work as a family doctor, an emergency medicine doctor, and pretty much a generalist because we don't have any specialists or extra resources in my community. So we kind of do it all, but we enjoy that. So I guess you'd call us a jack of all trades. And I say us because there are 4 of us here as physicians. I wear certain hats with the university. I am the assistant dean of distributed medical education. And I also work with SRPC. Lisa had mentioned the Society of Rural Physicians of Canada. So I sit on the council with that group as well as the provincial rep for Newfoundland and Labrador. So do many things, and we'll talk about near the end about how diversity is extremely important in helping you achieve that fulfillment in your life and your career. So first off, I'll start with a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the province of Newfoundland and Labrador as the ancestral homelands of many diverse populations of Indigenous groups, and we acknowledge with respect the histories and cultures of the Beothuk, Mi'kmaq, Innu, and Inuit of this province. And I encourage you all, as you're coming from different provinces and areas, to acknowledge your Indigenous groups because everyone has some uniqueness with respect to that. And it's very important to acknowledge and to appreciate your history and your cultures as well with your Indigenous populations. So a little bit of housekeeping for me as well. So disclosures and mitigating the bias. So I don't have anything to disclose or declare. As I said, I'm a proud rural doctor, a medical educator, a teacher, as you may. I'll emphasize the joys of both of these things as we go through this today. And yes, I'm doing this under my own free will. As Lisa said, I'm not getting paid for this. I don't want to get paid for this. This is a passion for me. I really enjoy talking to everyone about career choices and what it is, I've gone through, and I hope you really learn something for that. And certainly I'm not advertising any products or medications or anything to benefit me. But anyway, just so you know. So about me, so I'm a dad, first and foremost. I say I'm a funny dad. My kids don't agree, I don't think, sometimes. They say, yeah, you're maybe a little lame funny dad. I don't know. But anyway, I like to think I'm funny, but anyway, they may think otherwise. I'm a husband, a son, a hockey coach, an athlete. To some extent, I'm a senior athlete, I would say. I play in softball leagues and hockey leagues, but I can't keep up with my kids at all. They're well beyond my skill. But I like to stay active, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. And the last three, I'm a doctor, I'm a teacher, and a researcher, as we kind of talked about. So, when we look at who you are, lots of times people will look at you, define you as who you are in your career. But to be honest, the most important things to me are those intrinsic things at the top. So being a dad, being a husband, being a son, the stuff that really makes you smile and happy. Not to say that your career doesn't, because it does indeed. But at the end of the day, the most important things are the things that are closest to you, and that's family, friends, and so forth. And just keep that in mind as you go through your career paths and your academic paths, to keep those who are close to you, extremely close to you, because they will provide your support and will help you along the way with every step of the game. So I want to talk to you today about building and living that journey. And it's not just, the career, it's the life that's integrated within that as well. So I'm going to talk about first, the setting the stage. So really get you to know who I am and how I came from childhood to where I am now. And that may give you some ideas about, applying that perhaps to your journey as well. Then we'll talk about laying the foundation. And that's really about where you are now in high school and the academics, the extracurricular things like sports or student councils, community leadership, those sorts of things that are all important. We'll move on to preparing, which is really after high school, the post-secondary education. And it seems like the most of you here are interested in sciences. So we want to talk a little bit about that, the academics, and of course, not only that, but also the extracurricular things as well throughout your post-secondary journey as well. And then pursuing. So that's essentially moving on from post-secondary or attending different training components or courses and those sorts of things. And then achieving is actually getting there. That's graduating, starting your job, and then tailoring the fit. That's a very important one. So after you've made it, so to speak, and you've achieved your career, you're into your work and your life, it's changing it so that it makes it more and more enjoyable for you. It makes you happy. So just because, you've become a nurse or you've become a pharmacist or a speech language pathologist or a doctor, that's not the end of the story, right? At that point, that's where, okay, I've made it here, but what can I do to make it even better? And tailoring the fit is one of those items that is continuous. It happens every day. You make changes that makes it right for you. So let's look at my career story. So I graduated in 2000, so that kind of dates me. I think everyone here was born well after that. As I said, a small community. We only had 39 students in our grade 12 class. And I appreciate there's some of you here probably have fewer than that. There are many here that probably have more than that. But here's our group. So this is our 39 of us in grade 12. We were all wearing proudly our JMO's Collegiate Science Club t-shirts. Very cool trend at the time. But anyway, so that just gives you an idea how small, relatively a small class that we were. And I just put that in there to kind of encourage you that, it doesn't matter how small or how rural a background you come from, you can accomplish anything if you just put your mind to it. And many of us in that class went on to do great things in the health sciences. And of course, a lot of people went outside of health sciences and great things as well. So I moved on to St. John's, capital of Newfoundland and Labrador, and moved in there on my own and pursued a Bachelor of Science degree and finished that in 2004. And note, I've got there again in 2005, which basically means I graduated with a degree in 2004, and I tried something and it didn't work. So I had to try it again. So what happened is that after 2004, I applied to medical school, but I wasn't successful the first time around. So instead of give up and do something else, I said, nope, I'm going to persevere. I'm dedicated. I'm confident I can do it. And so I pursued an honors dissertation or research in that year and applied again to medical school. And then the second time around, I was successful and was accepted to medical school. And I graduated medical school in 2009 at Memorial University in St. John's. And these are three of my classmates and myself in this picture, as you can see, on graduation day from med school. So we all have smiles. We all still do. I keep in close contact with everyone and quite aware of where everyone is at this point. So that's important as well. You make lots of friends and memories along the way. So it's important to hang on to those and cherish them as well. So after 2009, I entered the family medicine residency program with the university at Memorial as well. And that was a 2-year program, as I said, in family medicine training. And I finished that in 2011. And in 2011, after that, I became a fully fledged rural family medicine physician, doctor, and concentrated a lot of my work in the emergency medicine field. And here you see myself and one of my paramedic colleagues in the emergency room during COVID. Obviously, we're wearing masks and I'm wearing a shield and scrubs and all those sorts of things. But that's just a part of the fun, to be honest with you. So I continue to do that today as well. My clinical role is a little bit less than it used to be starting off, but I still do a large chunk of that. And I do a fair bit now of medical education. And as was mentioned, I'm the assistant dean at the Faculty of Medicine, Memorial University as well, for distributed medical education. I've been doing that now for over 4 years as well. And that's the picture I think you saw in my introduction. That one's a little more formal than what I'm used to. I don't often wear suits and ties. But anyway, every now and then you're kind of obligated to do that. But that's okay. It keeps it fun. It changes things up, right? So that's great. So, that's an idea of what I did from 2000 to present. So that's 24 years, 25 years that we talked about. But am I missing anything there? We talked a lot about school and career and things like that, but is there anything missing? Yeah. What about the life along the way? Certainly, your academics and your career make up a big chunk of what you do, but there's so much more. So I was born, as I said, in a small rural outport Newfoundland and Labrador community. I'm an only child born to middle-class parents. And in this picture, you'll see, I think I'm 4 or 5 years old. I'm at a birthday party of one of my friends. And in the background, that girl looking at me, believe it or not, is my wife. I didn't know it at the time, obviously, but she clearly had something for me. You can see a little wink in her eye. So funny how things work out sometimes. So growing up, I enjoyed the rural way of life, hunting, sports, family, friends, fishing, anything outdoors. That was kind of what I did, what my family did. And so when I moved to university, there was a big change. Moving to the city, not so many trees and ponds and things to do with the fun stuff that I used to do outside. But there were new fun things, movies and travel, and I guess to some extent coffee shops and shopping. Not really my cup of tea, but certainly I didn't mind doing that as well. And yes, I got to take rides in helicopters and things like that. So that was something that, I didn't have the ability to do in a rural outport community. So a different way of life, but I embraced it and really enjoyed it. But after I finished my medical training, I moved back to rural Newfoundland, actually right back to my roots in Twillingate. So again, another culture shock. But at that time, I met back up with that girl that we saw in the first picture and got married. And that certainly changed a lot of things, became more engaged in the community, playing on hockey teams, involved with the Lions Club, volunteering, with the council, those sorts of things as well. And then, of course, the kids came along, and that changed everything. And this picture is about 7 years old. It's hard to believe that they're so much older than this now, and time goes by so quickly. So again, enjoy every minute of it as you go through life and your career. So we'll move on and we'll talk about laying the foundation component of where you want to be with your career, essentially. So this really talks about the building blocks that support your pathway and your journey along the way. So this really refers to things like your high school academics. It's important to be a solid academic, getting decent marks and those sorts of things, but just remember that that's not everything. It's important, but it's also important to understand that involving yourself into extracurricular activities, and if that's sports, then great. If you're not athletic, then certainly that's fine. Things like school councils, grad committees, those sorts of things. I participated in a little bit of all of it. I mean, I played hockey, I played volleyball. I wasn't great at basketball or anything else, but I also took up a role on the yearbook committee as well. So I got somewhat involved with that. I didn't let it, own me. There was enough balance there between the sports and the committees, and of course the academics that I felt comfortable with it. Volunteerism or volunteering, that's important as well. So in your communities where you live now, there certainly are community groups and health centers, nursing homes, things like that. So I volunteered with organizations like the Lions Club and at the hospital feeding patients and those sorts of things. And life experience, also very important. So this really comes with the exposure to what I've talked about, your extracurricular and your academics and those sorts of things and volunteering. And the more that you see and do, the more comfortable you become with life's challenges. And right here is, I think the picture on the bottom of the date is 1994. So 12-year-old me, one of the guys in the middle there with glasses. This is our pre-adolescent ball hockey team. And we traveled around the province this summer. And none of us are smiling because we lost the gold medal game, but it added so much character, so much life experience, and just to be a part of that team really does help to prepare you for what you have in store as you move on in life. So preparing, and this is really talking about that framework and then fostering your choices as you're choosing your career. And again, we talked about the education. And at this point, we're talking about post-secondary education, whether or not that's college, university, a trade school, and so on. But again, solid academics are important. You don't have to be, you don't have to have 100% average on everything. Obviously, that would be beneficial, but don't feel that you need to basically just focus on academics only, and that's all that matters. It is important, as I said, but again, keep in mind the other things as well. And at this point, you may want to look at researching some prerequisites. And that basically means, okay, I'm in college, I'm in university. What is it that I want to do? And what other things do I need to do to ensure I'm being accepted? So for me, for instance, I thought about wanting to go to medical school when I was partway through university, and then realized that, I needed to do this MCAT exam. So I needed to write this a year before. So I had to prepare for those sorts of things. So keep that in mind at this stage as well. Workforce experience is important here as well. Now that you'd be 17, 18 years old at this point, maybe older, and gaining some of that summer or seasonal work experience really helps you prepare for your career. It adds character, builds relationships and team skills. I did a lot of work in retail. I worked in grocery stores and also with the fishery. So unloading crab boats and delivering bait and those sorts of things, whatever the kind of rural summer seasonal work that was available. And so, again, the increased autonomy and independence, here's where you gain responsibility and accountability, leadership skills. So remember, I said I moved away from home, and this was a big shock to my system. I had to learn to cook and clean. I mean, my parents did all that for me. I didn't have a clue what to do. I remember showing up in the first week of university, and my parents said, kind of drop me off, good luck sort of thing. I remember phoning them and saying, well, how do I make craft dinner? I just saw you do it. I never really paid attention. So it's interesting, right? You get that shock all of a sudden in what you're thrown into, but that independence and autonomy comes pretty quickly. And of course, the team building, that's also quite important in helping you along your way as well. Here you see early on in my career, I'm actually the one taking the picture, that's why I'm not in it, but this was my team of physicians and nurse practitioners in Twillingate. Interestingly enough, of everyone in this picture now, there's only one that remains. Everyone, again, is tailoring their fits, so they're changing their careers, they're moving on, those sorts of things. But teamwork and team building is extremely important. So pursuing is the next piece, and that's really about chasing your passions, something that you're really interested in. So I can't emphasize enough that you should be doing something that makes you happy, not something that you're told to do or someone else tells you that you might be good at this. or for the wrong reasons. And how often do you hear, well, I'm going to be a radiologist because it pays a lot of money? That might be true, but if you don't like that work, then is it really a good idea? Too many times I've seen people go into things for the wrong reasons, and a few years in, they're just miserable and they wish they had done it. So the one thing I do want to leave with you is that be sure that that's something you really enjoy, because if you get into something that you don't like, it usually doesn't work out well. So just be sure that you know what it is that you are really interested in. And it's okay to change it partway through. If you're not sure and you get into it, it's really not for you, you can modify it or you can change it completely. And that's quite okay. So, and narrow your options, making that decision that best suits you. And don't worry about making those decisions early. You eliminate your considerations, your possibilities kind of one at a time, and you pick the one that works the best. And you do that as you're exposed to them. So for me, for instance, in medical school, we have something called a year of clinical clerkship, where we go around the province and we're exposed to different locations and different types of medical training, such as surgery or obstetrics or pediatrics and family medicine. And essentially what I did, as I was exposed to each one of those, I eliminated the ones I didn't like, and I finally landed on family medicine and emergency medicine. And again, that just kind of delves into, the next piece, the advanced education and training, where we talk about our residency programs or our work terms. And for me, again, that was the family medicine residency, because it had everything that suited me: emergency medicine, clinics, high pathology, lots of people with lots of disease that I could help well, lots of relationships that you can make along the way. And you'd be the first to see a problem usually in family medicine and figure it out like a detective. And there's lots of flexibility in family medicine, emergency medicine, and so forth. So that was also appealing to me as well. And lastly, the career exposure. So this is the work placements. And again, the residency program for me was what allowed me to kind of get exposed to different locations, different towns, different work environments, and really helped me decide where and how I wanted to work. So here you see my young fella who's in career days, currently in grade 12 now, who came to work with me one day, I think last year, and learn how to suture lacerations or cuts in people's skin. So he learned how to sew up things that an emergency doctor or surgeon might do. Try to get a sense of whether or not he liked to do that, and if he does, then maybe he wants to move on into that sort of career as well. So that exposure is really important. And so achieving, that means we're getting there. It's when you're starting a career, you're graduating. So really enjoy that graduation piece as well. Keep in close contact with your fellow graduates, as I had mentioned. You've made so many memories along the way, and it's important to keep those and cherish them, as I said. That was a big part of you getting to your career, and you don't want to forget it. It's so amazing. So setting up shop. So that's really getting started in your work. So for physicians, it's basically setting up, a site, a practice plan, and then moving on into, becoming a part of a team, or whether or not you want to work solo by yourself. I certainly would encourage starting off becoming a part of a team, so that you have those who've already gone through to help you as you start up. So for instance, for me, starting up, I started in a group practice with many nurses and interdisciplinary colleagues around. So they really helped to hold my hand as I got used to the system, for instance, right? It's also important to build that resource network. So you want to build your staff that help you get the right people that you want, that you work well with. So for me, getting a secretary who is also my child would probably help. Probably not so, I guess, at 2 or 3 years old, but just, as an idea, people that, you can depend on and trust are really important. And of course, getting a really good accountant is very important too. Maybe that's one little tidbit that I'll leave with you, because, when your 7-year-old finds your credit card, you want to be sure you're prepared for challenges like that. All right. And this is a true story. She actually took a selfie of herself holding my credit card. She found my wallet, took it out. Luckily, she didn't know how to use it. But I found this on my phone one day at work, and I just busted out laughing in the middle of work, and everybody asked what was wrong. And I showed the picture around. I think it was the one of the funniest things I had seen that week. So anyway, again, it's all about the happiness and those fun things that happen along the way as well. So we're getting there. So I want to talk about tailoring the fit, as I mentioned earlier on. So you change it until it feels right. You're there, you've achieved your graduation, you're in your career, and you've made a lot of good decisions along the way. However, sometimes it just doesn't feel the way you'd hope, not quite. So you change it, you modify it, you make it work for you. So it's quite okay to be in something and be not perfectly comfortable. And, we'd argue that, a little bit of discomfort is actually a good thing anyway. It keeps you on your toes, but certainly don't feel like you're trapped. You can change things after you're there. You don't have to quit and start over, not at all. And if you don't succeed the first time around, keep trying, persevere. Remember my story about not getting into medical school the first time around. I didn't give up. I tried again. And lo and behold, I was successful the second time. And these kinds of things can happen for you folks as well. But I did want to emphasize that there are three main components that I found that are really a part of a rewarding and fulfilling career. So a career that's challenging, diverse, and balanced these are the components that really make it fulfilling for you, and you will be quite happy if you're able to achieve all three of these. So challenging, really, it means, it keeps your mind sharp. I'm always challenged at my work, and I'll get into that in a second. It minimizes the boredom, the routine. You don't want the same thing over and over again. Keeps your knowledge base and your skills really sharp as well. And you have this ability to have lifelong learning. You're learning all the time. Medical students and residents and learners, they teach me things every day, and I'm so privileged to be able to learn from them. So for me, here's some examples of a simple day in my life. Seeing someone who I send for a CAT scan who has flesh-eating disease and trying to sort through that and interpreting the CAT scan. Running a code, we call it, basically providing CPR and life support for someone who's dying in front of us. And this is the aftermath of our emergency department with the mess on the floor and those things. But that's all fine. If that life was saved and we've loaded someone aboard a helicopter to transfer them out, the mess means nothing, and we can clean that up easily. Interpreting chest x-rays with people with possible pneumonias, and looking at what we call EKGs, so tracings of people's hearts, and determining whether or not they have a heart attack. And in this situation, on this example, we had to give a clot-busting drug to save a person's life based on how we interpreted this EKG. Fixing ankles, which might almost happened last night. But yeah, being an orthopedic surgeon and putting screws and bolts into people's bones and fixing them and ensuring that, they can lead a high quality life after a major injury. And being, faced with 3 ambulances all at once, and, that adrenaline rush to 3 sick people, and then having to jump on an ambulance and, helping someone be escorted to another facility where they have more definitive care. And of course, things like rashes that just make you scratch your head as you're not really sure, and having to consult your dermatologists or, your skin experts, and all these things make it so challenging. And you could also argue that all of those things make it very diverse as well, and it keeps it very interesting. And by it, I mean your life, your career, very much so. It minimizes that monotony. So again, that repetitiveness, you're not doing the same thing over and over again. You have something different every day, which is really exciting and unpredictable, which is really, really nice way to keep your energy really at its optimal peak. This keeps you really fresh and up to date. And for me, it's a balance of the clinical piece, the leadership, and the education. So here you see my young fella again, who's, I guess he's the clinician for the day, and he's looking into my ear. So I do a lot of this as well in my work. So interacting with people every day, helping them through their medical problems is so rewarding and fulfilling. In the top right corner, you see a more recent picture of our team in Twillingate. We have a multidisciplinary team with physiotherapy here, diabetes nurse educators, dietitian, an occupational therapist, several physicians, nurse practitioner, nurse managers, social workers, medical students, medical residents. So we're all part of a team, but that is also very diverse, and being a leader of that team also adds to that fulfillment that I have as well. And on the bottom is me teaching a lecture at the medical school. Not many people showed up that day, but those that did certainly were hanging on every word I was saying. So doing those 3 different things as part of my career really keeps it diverse and keeps me engaged and really fulfilled. So perhaps the most important thing, however, is having it balanced. So it's important to have a good work life or education life balance. So that's, if you're into sports, excellent, keep that up, but also make sure you're having time for your academics and your family as well. So both your professional and your personal life components are really important. Be sure to prioritize, even if that means, preparing for an exam or practicing to get ready for a softball tournament, those sorts of things. But prioritize. Know what's more important than the other things. But again, make time for the less important things as well, because in the end, they really truly contribute to your overall well-being. Budget your time effectively. I think we're all guilty of being procrastinators, leaving things to the last minute. Sometimes that isn't all that bad, but I would encourage you to try to budget your time a little more effectively than that, and even write out schedules and be organized, essentially. Your friends and your family are your primary supporters, and I said this in the beginning. I cannot emphasize it enough. Be sure to acknowledge them, thank them. When you do run into trouble, and I'm sure you are going to run into your obstacles, we all do, but those are the ones that have your back, and they always will. So reach out to them, thank them, keep them close, because without them, you won't be where you want to be. So for me, keeping the balance is all about showing up to work and having a birthday cake that has a moose and a hunter's hat on it, because I love to hunt as well. So having a cake in front of a chart really shows, the best of my outside world and my work world. At the top center, you see a resident and a medical student who are both learning how to identify fractures and also identify veins with the ultrasound machine. I was able to teach them this, and I'm so happy that they can carry on that learning onto others as well. So that's excellent. And the top right, cod fishing. I love doing that as well. Bottom left is me running the Tele 10 in 2023. So I try to keep as active as I can. But that's really helpful for me to balance. Any kind of physical activity really helps balance the psychological health as well. On the bottom right, sometimes your mood reflects your mug, or vice versa. Your mug reflects your mood. If I show up with my grumpy mug, people avoid me. If I show up with one that's a little more positive, then people come around me. But every day is different. It's just funny. But you don't see that mug very often, unfortunately. The center picture on the bottom is the most important thing. Without those 4 people there by my side, I wouldn't be here today telling you about this at all. It's because of them that I'm here where I am today, and I'm proud of where I am today. And I'm so fortunate and blessed to have had them along the way to help me through everything as I made my way to here. So all in all, health sciences careers are diverse, and there are many, and you will hear a lot about them today, and you should be very excited about it. So build a path that suits you, and remember to strive towards the passion that you have, not necessarily something that doesn't mean a whole lot to you, but that passion, what you want to do. Work hard, prioritize, follow the directions, and even if they're sometimes a little strange, but that's the way it's supposed to be, then certainly follow them, especially if it comes from someone who has great experience in that field. Ask for advice. Be adventurous. Learn from your mistakes. As I said, I learned from mistakes, not getting into medical school the first time, applying again and doing that. And anticipate challenges in all shapes and forms. And trust me, they can come in any shape and form. And this was a day in the emergency department during a stomach flu outbreak. And I think the toilet got used a little too much. And anyway, it was fixed pretty quickly, but it was a challenge because we had no washroom for a while. And always remember to have fun along the way. So you see in the top right corner, my 2 helpers in the office on Halloween, my 2 daughters come in dressed in their costumes. This was a few years ago now, but it puts a smile on your face, especially when you're the one picked to have to work Halloween. At least, when your family comes in dressed like that, it puts a smile on your face. The bottom right corner is myself and another physician and 2 paramedics, and we team up. We've teamed up for the last 10 years together, put together a golf team. We participate in a charity golf tournament that has a theme to it. This year it was 90s sitcoms. And you guys might not be familiar with Saved by the Bell, but it was the most popular one in the 90s at the time when we all grew up. So we dressed up as some of the Bayside High teenagers, and we didn't win. We didn't have the best costume, which is disappointing, but hey, we had a lot of fun in the end. We didn't play much golf. Yeah.
I'm just at the end of our time here, Dr. Hunt, just drawing your attention.
Last slide, you got it. On the left is my son again. We just had a little bit of fun putting on casts. And in the middle, you see me when everybody needs a smile on their face. You just wrap your face in gauze and hope for the best, and everyone has a laugh. So it brings the joy to your workplace as well. So great timing. Sorry, Lisa, I went a little bit over. Thanks very much.
Well, good.
Very happy to be able to be here. If anyone's got any questions, by all means, here's my contact information. Reach out. I'm happy to have one-on-one discussions or anything at all. All right. I hope you learned something and enjoyed it. Thanks so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
That's amazing.